Hello, everyone. Introverted Oreo here. Um, so I wanted to do something different that is not political. I wanted to give more background about where I come from and my interests, of course. I did a video a couple days ago, or maybe a week or so. No, actually, it was a couple days ago. In regards to like where I come from, school wise. So I figured to give a little glimpse about what I my interest is personally, which is really music, particularly metal. Started back, of course, like I said, grew up in Wayne County, very rural school, and a couple of my friends got me into some pop punk bands right around, I want to say about the sixth or seventh grade. Uh, and then later on, I want to say closer towards ninth grade, I got into 4 year bands like 4 Year Strong, Newfound Glory, Set Your Goals. I Set My Friends on Fire. Basically the lighthearted pop punk bands, but I didn't get into actual heavy metal until I discovered the album by Death is called The Sound of Perseverance. And then I just went into finding bands like Nevermore, which I love Nevermore to death. Like I could tell you like all my favorite songs from each of those albums, at least the ones that I have in my repertoire. But when listening to Jeff Loomis and uh, listening to Nevermore, it got me into the idea of liking progressive metal bands. So and the long lines maybe like later on after jet metal came out, but I don't know if you would call that progressive, but it does have the same time odd time signatures, so that's what got me into the idea of music, and well, for that particular genre. And then I started listening to bands like Opeth, and then I went on to bands like, of course, I've seen them live, the Contortionists. I've seen them live. I even got pictures with the lead singer. I've seen Behemoth live. I've seen Cannibal Corpse live. I've seen Black Dahlia Murder. Uh, Pretty much all the genres of bands, but the main bands I really love that I went to go see are the more progressive metal bands. Um, like Animals as Leaders, The Contortions, as I said, Between the Buried and Me. I've seen them live. I'll be going to go see Monuments play at my city in next month. I believe it's September 11th. Yeah, September 11th. But I'll be seeing them uh, to play live. I've got, what is that? I've seen Cattle Decapitation live 2 years ago. But yeah, I've been to pretty much roughly that I've counted. I've been roughly between in my life 15 to 20 concerts. Um, was never really a Vans Warped Tour kid. It's just I don't know. It's just I never really got the feel to go to like a Warped Tour event, but I do actually go to other concerts. But I figured to share my interest in music online. And so I still have CDs because I don't like running my phone that much for it's just me. I just don't like using my phone that much. Aside from when I'm at work, then I'll put my Bluetooth speaker in. But when it comes to using my phone in the car, it's more of a distraction. So I'd rather just stick with my CDs. I have a CD changer and everything, so that works for me. But uh, I figured to show off the bands that I do like, and of maybe like a small sample of the songs that you may have never heard of, or some of the bands you never heard of, but I figured to show that. So I got my CDs here, and I will give an opinion on what songs I like. One song I like the most on that album, and then you can figure it out for yourself. The first band that I like, and I still like to this very day, uh, I love both singers, even though one left the band. One left the band, and then another singer from, I believe it was Texas in July. He came and took over the rougher vocals for the band, but it's called Era, and it started off with this album right here. It's gonna show up a little bit backwards, but the one song that I love on here the most is I can't pronounce it. Valbara, I think it's called. Yeah, but basically, if you want to take a listen to it, it's right here. But of course,
I've lost 13 pounds so far, and I'm only on week 5.
Of course, ads.
I've been doing Noon for.
That's one of my favorite songs from this album. I would recommend it definitely. This was I think the very first album. But then they went on to make Era Augment. This was when the singer that did the rough vocal stuff. I don't know too many of the names themselves. I just like the songs, but the singer that did the rough vocals, the death browser, the death vocals and all that. This album wasn't particularly my favorite. Maybe like a couple songs like Alpha Seed and what is it, Dreamwalker. I don't really listen to this album that much. It doesn't give the same boom as their first album. So I would still, if you want to give it a listen, go ahead. But I don't recommend too many of the same songs on here. It's not really ones that give you like a feeling like how the one song on here on Era versus this album, where this has more of a boom. There's like at least a good solid 7 or 8 songs on here that is worth listening to. Whereas, I mean, the first track, Alpha Seed, to me, I like, but I didn't like the rest of the songs on here. But I would say if you want to give it a listen, give it a listen. And then we have... Oh, and then the story, basically, when Augment came out, that was the end of the vocalist that did the rough vocals. Then they took the lead singer, or the singer from Texas in July, and he took his place and made my other favorite album. It's called Neon. And I would recommend listening to the song that I love on here the most. It's called Ghost of Nothing. YouTube ads, right?
This is not another treadmill.
Bye. Definitely recommend. There's a lot of songs on this album. Oops. A lot of songs on this album I would recommend. There's Breach, there's Expiate, there's Ghost of Nothing, there's Hyper Reality. I would recommend this album. And next one that I also recommend, this was the album before Neon, but of course I accidentally put it out of order. But there's a story behind this one. This is called Drift by the same band, Era. But I have a story about what happened with this case and why it has the public library on here. So I ordered the CD from Amazon, and it was it was a private seller, and the guy only had 6 left. And then when I got it a couple days after I ordered it, I think he stole this from the library or something. But whatever, I get it works. It's a CD, it works. I don't care, whatever. But I would recommend it to listen. It's the album has a lot of the songs on here that I like, and the main one I like off this album itself is Irreversible. It slams really hard as soon as it starts. You're pretty much just like, ooh, tingly feeling. But I would recommend it. Sorry, I listen to that a lot more than I should. Like my CD, I'm surprised my CD hasn't been burnt out because I listen to that song literally almost on the daily, and I never get sick of it. I love that begin. I love the whole part of it, everything. Just it hits hard. But I recommend definitely the band era. A couple of the songs on there is pretty good. There's Luminescence, Irreversible, again my favorite. Orchid, Drift, Sleeper, Continuum. But that is the album art. Of course, it has a jellyfish on it because, gent, whatever, obsession with sea and space and aliens. But definitely recommend getting it. Just make sure it's not stolen from your local library. But that's one of my favorites. But basically, I have other CDs too. I love Volumes. I love that this is their. I forgot what number this one was. Oh, had it upside down. There's Volumes. Pretty much, I love all the songs on this album. I have all of Dance Gavin Dance. I've seen them once before live. They were amazing. And of course, I have Tesseract. Seen them live. What is it? They came to New York City 3 years ago. Love those guys. I have Monuments. They're one of my favorites, and I'll be seeing them for the first time in September. So I can't wait. And of course, I like a little bit of the old school stuff too. So I have Sanctuary. Again, Worldain, rest in peace. Amazing. Love this album a lot. I love the old school progressive. I want to say between the eras of the mid 80s to 90s, like Fate's Warning, Queensryche. Definitely Queensryche is my favorite. I actually have the CDs right here. I don't know with the two bands that were sharing names and all that during that time. I still like the original better, even though he wears a vest a lot. I know that used to be a running gag of his. Is always wearing a vest and a bunch of eye makeup. But I still respect him, even if others don't. But Sanctuary, their last album they had before Worldain passed away, and they were on the way to making another one, but he passed away in Brazil. Rest in peace. I don't know if I did it right. Rest in peace, Worldain. I wish I had seen them live before he passed away. I wish I'd seen them live before Nevermore broke up. Now, originally they were supposed to come here in Buffalo, a couple years back. But then right after they had announced the tour, they broke up, which sucked because I was looking forward to getting the tickets. And of course, I got what every person used to have before MP3 players. All my CDs, a couple of them burnt copies. But I'll share some real quick. But I got, of course, gotta have Jeff Loomis if you're gonna have Nevermore stuff. I never disappoint with any song on these albums. And then, of course, with that, you get Nevermore, Politics of Ecstasy, favorite album out of all the Nevermore stuff. Whew, my God, love this album, love it, highly recommend. Then I got Nevermore. I told you I got like all their stuff. And of course, I got the last album they made before the band broke up. Nevermore, the Obsidian Conspiracy. I always call it the Obelisk. It's the Obsidian Conspiracy. And then, of course, you gotta get Dreamy Neon Black. That's my second favorite album out of Nevermore's whole documentary. Or discography. I'm sorry, what am I talking about? And of course, Nevermore, Dead Heart in a Dead World. That's my third favorite. Always having Nevermore. I love Nevermore. They were my first love into the idea of progressive metal in a way. They had a mix of like death metal and progressive and thrash in a way. Like I love it. It's a combination. And I got my favorites here. And I was mad because I miss them when they came here a couple years ago. Was Opeth. Opeth Morning Rise. That's one of my favorites. I like Mikhail's vocals now that he's doing cleans permanently, but I still miss his old vocals. Ghost Reveries. I don't know. Ghost Reveries from Opeth, the old days. Blackwater Park. Love Opeth. I like what they're doing now. I just miss their old vocals. Like pretty much I'm stacked with CDs here. Children of Bodom. Relentless, Reckless Forever. I have seen them live before too. I actually got a hug from Alexi Laiho. It was awesome. I loved it. Children of Bodom again. It's like I got pretty much almost every CD there is in regards to like certain bands. This is my favorite Strapping Young Lad album. Alien. Oh my God. Like I think this was the first gift my boyfriend at the time gave to me, and I love it. I still keep it to this very day. More Opeth. This is the album I love from Opeth. Is Still Life. One of the best albums I love. Like, I can't gloat about this enough. It's like, Melinda. What is this? Melinda the Moore and Godhead's Laminate. I recommend listening thoroughly. It's a beautiful concept album. It tells the story itself. Let's see if I interpret it correctly from what I'm looking at, is that basically a man and woman were in love, but the consul, which is like kind of like a government in a village, whatever, told them that they can't be in love. So he runs away and he tries to whisk her away from the village so they can be in love together outside of the village, whatever. But I think, at least I understand that's the concept. I gotta re-look it up again because it's been a while since I actually last listened to this album, but definitely recommend. And of course, can't go wrong with Animals as Leaders. You can barely see the print, but this is Animals as Leaders. Their album, CAFO? I can never understand what it's supposed to mean. CAFO? C-A-F-O? Something like that. But definitely recommend with Animals as Leaders. Oh, another Opeth album, Deliverance. Slamming. If you really love the heavy growls, the heavy pitch and whatnot, that is definitely for this album. Highly recommend. But and then another one, if you like one of Opeth's light vocal albums, but it's basically tied along lines of what Sorceress, but Opeth, Damnation, highly recommend. There's no song on here that's disappointing. But that's a little bit of what I have in my repertoire of music. So definitely I wanted to give out my little taste of what I listen to, where I come from, and what music I listen to. I'm not a super expert on the music itself, or when I just know what I like, and that's all my CDs, and I gotta go put them back in my car before I forget. But I'll be getting more albums and stuff, and if you guys are into the music that I'm into, if you would recommend any good albums that I like, particularly that's in the progressive metal genre in particular, give me a shout out in the comments. Tell me what bands I should listen to. Give me a recommendation, and I can do a review video. Something to keep in mind, I can do a review video of the music, whatever your suggestions are, and I'll put it up in a video. So definitely, I'll be taking any suggestions. So hit me up. Have a good one.